We didn't talk about that.
No.
So then the second half of this phrase is a little more connected together. There isn't so much dee da 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 dee da da da, and then you get a very smooth progression up until your eighth notes. T T, and I'd like to hear groupings da 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 dee. So the first two eighth notes after the dotted quarter form a separate note grouping unto themselves. Dee da da dee. Even though it's all slurred, think of this, and it will really hold your eighth notes in perfect rhythm. Dee da da dee. So nothing will rush at all. So we get the inflections, then the longer line, and then the little groupings at the end.
Okay.
So let's do the whole 8 bars without the chaconne underneath.
No, the other way. That's right. There you go. There you go.
Bravo, beautiful. And that'll come together a little bit better. Beautiful, beautiful job. Now we move forward with the woodwinds, which would be from the oboe down to the second clarinet in the score. Let's hear that line.
Okay.
Those
So you know where we're starting, right?
1, 2, 3.
You guys start on 2. And
This is example 1 for the webcast
Yes, right.
people, so they can see the groupings I'll talk about here.
Okay, here we go.
Yes, I wish it was a bar number. I wish there was. It's before letter A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 before letter A, there's a quarter rest.
Right, 9 before A. It's 2 beats before you start the chaconne. Right there.
May I hear that just without the chaconne
Sure.
voice? Just the upper voice,
Okay.
yeah. So it's just the
Without the chaconne melody.
oboe, the 2 clarinets. Perfect, wonderful. Now, I'm going to just talk a little bit about the resolutions of these dissonant notes that you have on the downbeats. First of all, let's hear just the oboe alone. And you'll see that there are dissonant notes that you have on the downbeat of the first 3 bars. 1, 2, 3. Even the 4th and 5th bar, and the 6th bar. I think each bar you have something that's of interest harmonically. So let's hear just a little bit of emphasis on each of these downbeats, and don't get off of that first quarter note too early. Fill it absolutely through its length, which, in other words, you have to subdivide 8th notes.
Right.
Yes, even the tied F should have some emphasis. T. Now, I'd like to talk about the way you're grouping the 8th notes. If, as I believe it is, all of these downbeats are dissonant notes, or at least notes of interest, that the note following this dissonance is its resolution, which is the first 8th note. So, 1, dee da dee dum, dee da. That first 8th note is the finish of what came before. Dee da ha dee. So make a grouping in your mind between those 2 8th notes, and they'll come out exactly in rhythm, and you'll also play the first 8th note more softly, because that's a consonant note. All right, and all the way through here, wherever you have 2 8th notes, the first 8th note should be the finish of the suspension that came before, or the dissonance that came before. Okay?
And the second clarinets have that as well.
Oh, okay.
So why don't we do that? Shall we? second clarinets and the oboe. You were listening, right? You are?
Something important that happens on that second eighth note. The first eighth note, you just have to move your fingers as softly as you can to resolve. All right? Can we try that one time with the chaconne melody underneath?
So should we put all of it in there with the first
no. Let's keep that the clarinet. We'll talk about them.
Okay, so oboe, second clarinet, and the chaconne melody, starting on beat 2.
So we're leading, yeah. Played. I can see you're using the vibrato on those dissonant notes and then resolving and then adding a little extra air on the second eighth note. Beautifully grouped. I would say nice grouping. Also nice grouping here, but I'm listening specifically for that oboe color with the vibrato. Now we have the two clarinets, or the two lines of clarinets. At least it here says solo B-flat clarinet and first B-flat clarinet. I would imagine it's the same.
It's the same right there. Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear just the clarinet line. And I'd like to hear that same sort of grouping where you resolve your suspensions or your dissonant notes.
There.
Yes. I know it's a lot of effort and a lot of thinking. And maybe it's a little overactive to your way of thinking, but when we put it all together, they'll hear something that wasn't there before. And it's actually in the music. What you're doing is you're showing where the tension and release points are. Okay? Now we have the pickups into letter A, 2 bars before letter A. Now this is a very important spot because of this figure, da 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 da, which generally tends to become accented. Da, 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 which is absolutely the worst way you could play it. Now, there is a progression going forward. Now, Tabito did use numbers to get these sixteenths in their proper positions. He would say 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. And you see how there's a repeated number. Whenever he repeated a number, it was generally to separate note groupings. So 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, dee, da, da. Then the inner 16th note doesn't get swallowed, and you don't get da and ba, da and ba, da and ba, which you often hear because of the first articulation. You hear that note, and then you hear an accent on the 8th note. But that little inner 16th note gets lost. What I would actually like to hear, if I were to put dynamic numbers to this entire figure, would not be exactly 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, although that's a great way to group the notes. I would rather hear 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3. And you see, every time you land on a beat, you're actually louder than the beat before, but you haven't accented the beat. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 3, 4, 5, 4. You see what I mean? So the middle note actually gets more of an inflection than your arrival note or your first note. So I think we should pick one person to maybe try to get this idea across.
Okay.
Dee, da, da. Dee, da, da.
Do it rather slowly?
Yes, very slowly like that. Well, very, very slowly like 1. Dee, da, da. Dee, da, da. It'll sound like lopsided, but give on that middle note, just for me. Do it for the visiting person. That's it. And you can finally give on that last downbeat. You've arrived at a new section. Beautiful. Now, can we take the whole section, the whole clarinet section, and try to do that same, just the clarinets?
Okay, we'll do it as 8 notes.
Yeah. Da, da.
And 1.
So that lonely inner 16th, on any time you have da-da-dum, 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 bum-bum, dee-da-dum, da-da-dum, da-da-dum, or whatever it is, dee-da-dum, 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 it's that inner 16th note that gets lost in the fray. And believe me, in an audition, and I've listened to hundreds of auditions where people play da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and it goes person after person, and finally someone comes in and goes dee-da-da, 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 and it has a life and an elegance and a certain suavity that is lacking otherwise. It takes a little getting used to, but then once you contrast that to the old way, it's stark in its level of musicality. It's very different. So let's try that again very slowly.
Same speed. And let's
just those 2 bars.
Okay, just the 2 bars?
Yeah.
Okay, same speed. And 1. 1. Da, da, da. And 1.
Okay, very good. We'll leave that. We'll come back to that when we read through it again.
Absolutely.
Now we come to a whole section of, I don't know exactly how to call it, letter A. This is example 2. Begins 2 bars before letter A, the example, but we worked on that. So this is letter A. Instead of thinking of all of these notes, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, as coming off the downbeat, boom, da-da-dum, da-da-da, boom, da-da-dum, da-da-da, boom, da-da-dum, da-da-da, which would be a lingering death as far as I'm concerned musically, where everything is just coming away. Da-da-dum, da-da-da, da-da-dum, da-da-da. All of this is rather an upbeat to the next 8th rest on the downbeat. Da-da-dim, da-da-dee, da-da-dim, da-da-dee, da-da-dim, da-da-dee. Think of the rest as your goal. The rest on the following bar. That will keep your rhythm correct, and you'll all be playing the quarter note at the end the same length. Because I think that many of you may be thinking of this as a ricochet. Da-da-dim, da-da-da. Da-da, and then that last quarter note doesn't get its full value. And it should be da-da-dim, da-da-dee. And regardless of the fact that it's a staccato, I wouldn't apply that to the quarter note. Okay? Think of everything as a pick up to the next bar.
So we're doing A then, with the trumpet and the trombone, at A. That second 16th, just as we worked on before. Dee-da-dee, 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 dee-da-dee. All right? I'm getting a little animated here. Nice.
Now we get to the next portion after the brass have their wonderful 16ths. This is example 3, which begins before letter B, 1, 2, 3.
8 bars. 8 before B.
Logically speaking, 8 before B. Let's start on the 3rd beat, if we could. Just the upper, just the people who have 1, 2, 3, ba, da da dee da 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 dee da. Just those.
So you see where it is. It's actually the 9th bar. Here we go. 1, 2.
There are 2 elements here. I'm not absolutely convinced that, well, now I am convinced because I see it written in the horns, staccato, and the B-flat trumpet, and in the cornets. Staccato is written 8 bars after where it was written in the woodwinds. So, all right, so we continue staccato. But there's something about the quality of the 8th notes that has to be a little puffier because of the interesting harmonies. I'd like to play this twice as slow, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
And don't play staccato here, but listen to these harmonies, specifically the dissonances in this figure. D, da da dee da, D, da da dee da. There's some very interesting dissonances and harmonies going on here, which are just sort of played through. And I'd like you to know where they are by doing them slowly once.
Okay.
we'll do the same place, but we'll do it in 6. I'm counting 8, so it'll be 1, da, 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 dee, da, like that. Right?
With long notes.
Long 8 notes.
Just to hear the harmony.
Up.
I hear one then. I hear one that's really important. You hear that one that has the dissonance in there, and I forgot which one it is, about the 4th or 5th one that you play. I think that this is something quite special, so let's, do you know the one I'm talking about? Let's play it through one more time, and I'll point it out when we get there. I wasn't watching the score.
So same speed, and 7.
That is a very important note. So
6 before B, last note.
the other thing about this is, again, I would like you to try to think of everything going towards the next downbeat. So you have just the first little, if I can call it a phrase that you have, is just up, rest, up, down. You've got to the next downbeat. D, and it's marked staccato, so at least in the rest of the part. So now we'll play short notes, but think of this as going towards the next downbeat. Then you have da da dee da da boom, da da dee da da boom, da da dee da da boom. So you're going forward always to the next bar. Let's try this a little bit faster, but not much.
Okay, so we'll keep it in 6.
Here's where we get into a little bit of note grouping. Let's start one beat before B, one full beat before B.
Okay.
The brillante.
Okay. So we're starting
Let's
one
just
beat.
hear that 16th note. Can we just hear the 16th notes maybe? Leave out the chaconne
Sure.
8th notes?
So just woodwinds, the 16th notes, starting on that, the beat before B.
Now, it wasn't quite together, but we'll get that. We'll get that. There are some very interesting things here, and I'd like to start sort of halfway through it. So after B, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 bars after letter B. Now, even though the oboe and the E-flat clarinet start on the half beat, da 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 da, I would like the others to group from the 2nd 16th, thinking 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, wa da 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 dee 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 da da da. Whatever you've got, just keep it going like this. Try this sort of inner grouping at this point in the music, because we've got just scales. Okay? Let's just do that for a few bars.
Starting on that bar?
Starting on that bar.
Okay, you know where it is, everyone? Okay.
So it's the downbeat of the 1, 2, 3, 4th bar
So
of
down,
brillante.
up, up, down, up, up, up. Okay?
Now, that grouping works well all the way up until the last bar, when we have some different figuration. So, from this last bar, let's separate the arpeggiations from the scale-wise figure, and let's play the first 2 notes as a finish of the bar before. So the bar before, la da 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 dee da, and then la da 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 da, and then la dee da 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 da. So 3 groups, ending la da 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 dee da, da 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 da, la dee da 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 da. Okay?
Start 7, then 7 after B.
This will help you stay together as well, but you'll be communicating the different shapes that Holst has written here,
Is that 7
rather
after
than
B?
just playing notes all the same.
This is just, you come in afterward.
Yeah, so you give a little emphasis on la-dee-da-da-da, la-dee-da-da-da-da. That little leading tone, la-dee-da-da-da-da. Okay?